So, this TikToker is in big trouble. This TikToker calls herself Apple, and Apple is 45 when this story starts. And she's living in Connecticut with her husband, this guy Jay Icon. Jay Icon is 44. Now, Jay Icon and Apple, they're both social media influencers, and their whole brand is that they are balling and living this big, fancy lifestyle. So, they love to flex on Instagram, and that's fine and all, except that it ends up being a big problem, because big, fancy lifestyles cost money. And these two, I guess, they just really don't want to work for that money. So, one day in 2024, they come up with a scheme to make a bunch of cash by stealing. Specifically, they're going to steal from the clothing store Lululemon. Now, these two aren't just going to run into the store and start grabbing stuff and taking it with them. They want to try and be smart about this, so here's what they do. First, Jay Icon walks into a Lululemon store by himself, and he goes up to the register and buys a couple of small, inexpensive items, maybe some socks or a keychain or something like that. And he pays for it, and he gets a receipt. At the same time, his wife Apple walks in separately, oftentimes with another woman, and they start grabbing expensive items off the racks like coats and jackets and leggings, and they start stuffing them under their clothes. Meanwhile, Jay Icon will walk back onto the sales floor with his bag of cheap, purchased items, and he meets up with them. Then they low-key use some kind of tool and remove one of the security sensors from their stolen items. And they take that sensor and reattach it to one of the cheap items that Jay Icon just bought. Then all three of them walk toward the exit together. And when they get close to the door, Apple and the other woman just walk out first, while Jay Icon follows close behind them. And just like they expected, beep, 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 the security alarm starts going off. And when it does, Jay Icon immediately stops, turns around, and acts all surprised, like, oh no, what happened? Here's my receipt, in case you need it. And he offers his bag to the store employees to check. Just so you know, he looks all honest and cooperative, like this is all just an accident. And at the same time, Apple and the other woman just keep walking away through the parking lot with all their stolen goods hidden under their clothes. And the store employees check Jay Icon's bag, and they find the security sensor on his purchased item and his receipt. So they remove it, and they're like, oh, sorry about that. Looks like we forgot to take the tag off, and they let him go. And this scheme works perfectly. Within 10 to 15 minutes, Jay Icon and Apple have stolen more than $1,000 worth of clothing. But that's not the end of the scam. After they steal the merchandise, they then drive to a different Lululemon and return it all for a full refund. So naturally, they're like, fucking sweet. Let's do it again. So they hit up more Lululemon stores, and they start doing it over and over and over again. And it works every single time. And soon, they are raking in literally hundreds of thousands of dollars, stealing clothes and returning them. Now, there is a small issue with this scam other than the fact that it's obviously illegal. It is that they can keep doing it to the same stores over and over again, because eventually the workers will catch on. So Jay Icon and Apple decide to take this show on the road, and they start traveling across the US from state to state, hitting Lululemon stores. They go to Colorado and hit 8 different stores in 2 days, and they steal $32,000 worth of stuff. They also go to Utah for 2 days and steal $21,000 worth of stuff. Then they go to Minnesota for 3 days, and they steal $23,000 worth of stuff. And afterward, they drive back to the East Coast to a few different Lululemon stores, and they exchange everything they stole for a refund. And so after doing this for a while, they're making serious cash from all this. They re-at almost $1 million just by running this scam over and over again for months. And of course, during all this, they're taking their time to, flex on the gram, because you always gotta take the time to flex on the gram. Now, here's the problem with all this theft. This isn't Lululemon's first day in the business. Like, they know people steal from their stores. They know how these types of scams work. And now that Jay Icon and Apple have stolen almost $1 million in items from them, their radar has been officially set off. And Lululemon has their own internal investigations team who track organized retail theft. I imagine it's like the Lululemon police. I imagine they look like this. And so the Lululemon police have figured out what Jay Icon and Apple are doing, and they have started tracking their crime spree from state to state. And they track them for months while continuously collecting evidence against them, like transaction receipts and security footage and stuff like that. Now, they aren't the actual police. So once they gather enough evidence, they contact the actual police, and they're like, these two have been stealing from us. And so the actual police start looking into it, and they know they gotta catch these guys. But then one day that same year, in 2024, Jay Icon and Apple are back on their bullshit, and they continue to be cocky about all this because they take another trip out to Minnesota. And there, they go to a Lululemon store, and they once again run their scam, and they steal almost $5,000 worth of clothes. However, this time, the Lululemon police, or whatever they are, I guess, they somehow see that they're there, and they immediately contact the local police and tell them that the couple is in the area. And unfortunately, Jay Icon and Apple leave the store before police are able to show up and catch them. I can't believe these guys keep getting away. It seems like they're just never going to get caught, until Jay Icon and Apple get sloppy. The next day, their silly asses actually go back into apparently the same store, like the same one that they had robbed the day before. And, you know, they pull off their same scam. And then they go to leave, and the security alarm goes off just as they planned. But this time, when the alarm goes off, store employees stop them, both of them. And so Jay Icon knows they're screwed, and he starts acting all angry and upset. And he claims that the store employees are racially profiling him. He says the employees must have set off the alarm on purpose. Yeah, that must be it. So, of course, the store employees let them go, because, you know, they can't detain them. But by that point, police have already been notified, and they're on their way. And so police get there, and Jay Icon and Apple are already gone. But remember, police had already been notified about the existence of this Lululemon theft couple. So they know who Jay Icon and Apple are, and now they're all on high alert. But then, of course, the couple just can't help themselves. They decide to hit yet another Lululemon store about 20 minutes away. And this time, the store is able to see them coming, and they alert the police. And so police show up there, and bam, they arrest them. Here's Jay Icon's mugshot. Also, bam, they arrest Apple. Here's her mugshot. And after the arrest, police get a warrant, and they search the hotel room that these two were staying in. And there, they find 12 suitcases just sitting there with $50,000 worth of Lululemon clothes in them. Damn, these two are shameless. Anyway, eventually, Jay Icon and Apple each take a plea deal. And as of the time of me making this video, they still haven't been sentenced, but they're both facing prison.